Is it on, bro? I don't hear myself. I'm on. Okay. Yeah.
I loosen rings all the time, why would I want to flush? Money down the toilet for something so glorious. When I got a diamond mine, I shine through my stories, bruh. My status.
You are now listening to the Shaw Report with Damian Banks.
Hello.
What's happening? What's up? What's going on? It's the Shaw Report, and I am your host, Damian Banks. Shaw Bears alum and fans rejoice. This is your very own podcast hosted by moi, Damian S. Banks. You know what time it is, you know how we do, so don't act brand new. Follow your boy on Instagram and Twitter at Sports by Damian. That's SportsByDamion. And Shaw University Athletics are on social media. On Twitter, it's at Shaw Bears. On Instagram, it's at SU_Bears. And on Facebook.com/Shaw Bears. We back in the building for another week on the official podcast of Shaw University Athletics. Go to ShawBears.com, download this podcast, download any information you want to find out about Shaw University Athletics. You can also find the podcast on iTunes, search the Shaw Report, or go to Spreaker.com/Sports by Damian. Again, I'm Damian Banks. This is the Shaw Report, where we give you a weekly recap on all the things that are going on within the Shaw University Athletic Department. Football season just ended. We're going to recap that on this week's episode of the Shaw Report. Basketball season is just getting underway for both men and women's teams. Head coach for the men, Joe Hopkins, were at home. The women, head coach Jock Curtis and his Lady Bear squad were on the road. We're going to recap their weekend as well. Also, the volleyball team was in action trying to get that C.I.A.A championship in volleyball. We're going to recap that on this week's episode of the Shaw Report. And we're going to break down the C.I.A.A championship football game played in Salem, Virginia on this week's edition of the Shaw Report. Bro, I told you, we rocking, we rolling, we getting to it. But before I do all that, you know I got to take a swig of my natural spring water on a bed of chipped ice. It's the only way to drink water. So hold tight for a second. Let me take a little swig of this water, and I'll get right back with you. Oh, yeah, she right. And I was eating the ice at the same time, but I digress. Again, you are listening to the Shaw Report. I am your host, Damian Banks. I told you, man, every week I have to thank you. I got to thank you for the love. The stats are always going up. I get positive feedback on a regular basis about the podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting the podcast, man. And we do it for you. We do it for the Shaw Bears alum and fans to give you an update on what's going on around the athletic department. Sometimes, you get busy with your life. You may not be able to come back, and watch sporting events at your alma mater or your college of choice. So, we give you the Shaw Report to give you an update on those things. So, with that being said, let's get into football. Played their last game of the season on Thursday night at Durham County Memorial Stadium. It was a makeup game. Head coach Adrian Jones and the Shaw Bears welcomed Chowan to Durham County Memorial Stadium on a Thursday night game. And it was chilly out there too, man. I was out there with the boss lady, Joe Williams. I call her J-Dub. We were out there on the press box area, checking out the game. Really good game too, man. And, it was bittersweet. Last game of the season. Great improvements from head coach Adrian Jones and his football staff for the football team this season. And it all culminated in that last game of the season against Chowan. Now, final score, 47 Chowan, 27 Shaw U. But the final score wasn't indicative of how the game was played. Again, massive improvements by the football team this season. Last game of the season, just going to give you a couple statistics. Senior running back Darrell McClain had 86 yards rushing on the game. Senior quarterback Keon Marsh, 294 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. Really big game in his final game, in a Shaw Bears uniform. Wide receiver Daniel Bender, 14 big catches, 169 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Tremendous game from Daniel Bender in the last game of the season. His counterpart, his teammate Marquise Gorham, 6 catches, 38 yards for him. Kavante Moses, tight end, 4 catches, 27 yards. And wide receiver Ray Green Jr., 30 yards receiving and 1 touchdown. Benny Kinseni made 3 extra points for the Shaw Bears. Really good kicker for Shaw University. And it was a really good game, man. Shaw grabbed a early 7-0 lead on a 6-yard touchdown reception from Keon Marsh to Daniel Bender. Chowan came back, tied the score at 7, but again, Keon Marsh to Daniel Bender, 13-yard touchdown pass gave Shaw a 14-7 lead. Chowan came back and scored 2 touchdowns in a row to take a 20-14 lead going into halftime. And Shaw was driving before the halftime break, going into the halftime break, but a costly turnover, and that prevented Shaw from putting any more points on the board before halftime. So Chowan went into the halftime break with a 20-14 lead. Opening up the third quarter, Chowan scored to make the score 27-14, but Shaw answered on a 37-yard touchdown reception from Daniel Bender to make the score 27-21. Chowan would go on to score another touchdown, but Shaw answered again. Senior Ray Green Jr. had a 6-yard touchdown reception from quarterback Keon Marsh to make the score 34-27 for Chowan. Chowan would go on to score 2 more touchdowns to make that final score 47-27. Shaw ends their season at 5-5 overall. Big improvement, 4-2 in the C.I.A.A, 4-1 in C.I.A.A Southern Division play. Shaw had a really tough schedule. They played 3 Division I opponents this season. They played Hampton, they played Campbell on the road, they played Mars Hill on the road, came away with a big win in that one. Shaw had a really tough schedule, man. Head coach Adrian Jones, that whole coaching staff made vast improvements for the football team this season, man. A lot of good things going on for the football team. A lot of players from the football team were recognized from the C.I.A.A with all conference honors, led by Devin Hunt, the junior linebacker, was named the defensive player of the year in the C.I.A.A, had 98 tackles, led the conference in tackles per game at 9.8 tackles per game. He was first team defense, first team offense for Shaw University, tight end Kavante Moses, and offensive lineman Keanu Gonzalez. Also on the defensive side of the ball, honorable mention defensive back Jaleel Scroggins. Wide receivers Marquise Gorham and Daniel Bender, they both were named honorable mention all C.I.A.A. Marquise Gorham had a really big season, 60 catches, 716 yards, 6 touchdowns. Daniel Bender was named honorable mention wide receiver as well, 45 catches, 558 yards, 4 touchdowns for him. They both are coming back next season, so look for them to have big seasons coming back for Shaw University. Also honored by the C.I.A.A on the all-rookie team was offensive lineman Tyrese Bobbitt, who played center for Shaw University, and defensive lineman Mark Shannon. So a lot of good things going on within the athletic department, specifically for football. A lot of big improvements, man. Head coach Adrian Jones is trying to get the football team back to prominence, back to that C.I.A.A championship level that Shaw University is used to being at. And it takes time. As Coach Jones said, you got to chop wood and carry water. And if, translation, it takes time, man. You got to put the work in order to get the results that you want. And next season is going to be a big season for the football team. They got a lot of momentum going into next season. So we'll see how the offseason progresses with recruiting, with off-season conditioning and working out. You got to get ready for the season. Next season starts right now. And if you're your head coach Adrian Jones and his staff, he understands that they're going to take a break, probably a week or two, recharge the battery, collect themselves, get on that recruiting trail, and get ready for next season, man. Again, Shaw University football teams ends the season 5-5 overall, 4-2 in the C.I.A.A, 4-1 in C.I.A.A Southern Division play. Kudos and hats off to the football team. We're just getting started on the Shaw Report for this week, man. We're going to take this commercial break. When we come back, we'll discuss more action in the athletic department for Shaw University. Don't go anywhere, but if you do come right back, you're listening to the Shaw Report on Spreaker Radio. Hey Shaw Bears fans, refresh your game day with the new and improved real Coca-Cola taste of Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. With 0 calories and 0 sugar. It's college sports' newest tradition. Grab an ice-cold Coca-Cola Zero Sugar and taste the feeling. Coca-Cola, proud sponsor of Shaw University Athletics.
You are now listening to the Shaw Report with Damian Banks.
What's happening? Welcome back to the Shaw Report. Again, I am your host, Damian Banks. Thank you for joining us again, week in, week out. You can find this podcast on shawbears.com every Monday, or you can go to iTunes. If you got iTunes, search the Shaw Report. Or if you want to go to Spreaker.com/Sports by Damian, it's free. It's for the low, no money. Every Monday, check out the Shaw Report. We thank you kindly. Also, Shaw University Athletics is on social media. On Twitter, it's at Shaw Bears. On Instagram, it's at SU_Bears. And on Facebook.com/Shaw Bears. I am also on social media at Sports by Damian. That's SportsByDamian. Find me on Twitter as well as Instagram. You know what time it is. You know how we do, so don't act brand new. It's time for the Shaw Bears Scoreboard. We begin with women's volleyball. Shout out and salute to head coach Christina Coleman. 6 players were named to the all C.I.A.A team, led by Offensive Player of the Year Kavisha Watley and Defensive Player of the Year Kelly Murphy. Also, Michelle Omida-Gonzalez and Soraya Klink were first team all C.I.A.A. Topanga Moten and Carla Sosa were second team all C.I.A.A. So when you have that amount of talent, you got to show and prove on the court, and the Lady Bears did just that. Quarterfinal matchup versus Elizabeth City State at C.C. Spalding Gymnasium last Tuesday. Hope you guys went out and voted, but I digress. The Lady Bears easily handled the Vikings in this one. 3-0 winning match. 25-13, 25-17, 25-11 for Shaw University. Soraya Klink, 8 kills. Topanga Moten, 7 kills in the win. Kavisha Watley, Carla Sosa, and Tyler Hunter, each with 5 kills in the win. Michelle Omida-Gonzalez, 21 assists in the win for Shaw University. Next up was a semifinal matchup with Winston-Salem State and Salem, Virginia. Easy money for the Lady Bears, winning again 3-0, 25-23, 25-23, and 25-22. Kavisha Watley, 14 kills. Carla Sosa, Soraya Klink, 9 kills. 40 assists for Michelle Omida-Gonzalez in that win for Shaw University. So they had a championship match versus Virginia State on Saturday. The Lady Bears dropped the first set 17-25, but they dug deep to win the next 3 sets, 25-19, 25-19, and the fourth and deciding set 28-26 to take the match and the C.I.A.A championship in volleyball 3-1. Kavisha Watley, 16 kills for Shaw University in the win. Soraya Klink had 12 kills. Tyler Hunter had 7 kills. Jasmine Johnson McCoy, 9 kills. 42 assists for Michelle Omida-Gonzalez. Automatic bid in the NCAA Division II tournament was earned by Shaw University's volleyball team. Go to shawbears.com to find out who the ladies will be playing in the Division II tournament. Next up, we have basketball, as both women and men got their season started off over the weekend. The ladies and head coach Jock Curtis were on the road. Last week they took on Pitt Jonestown, fell behind by 11 points at halftime, and could never really make up ground in the second half, falling 80-65. Tanaya Sweat, 23.6 rebounds in the loss for the Lady Bears. Next up was a game versus Shepherd's University. The Lady Bears trailed by 3 at halftime in this one, but Shepherd outscored Shaw 26-16 in the third quarter as they fell 86-71. Tanaya Sweat, 22 points, 5 rebounds. Clintisha Martin, 16 points in the loss for Shaw University, who fall to 0-2 to start the season. Next up for the Lady Bears, November the 16th, they will be at home hosting the Shaw University tournament. For more information on that one, go to shawbears.com. Moving on to the men, head coach Joel Hopkins, they were at home over the weekend for their Shaw University tournament. First up, they took on Mansfield in the season opener. They won this one 91-77. 4 starters in double figures for Shaw, led by Amir Hinton, who transferred from Lockhaven. Amir had 29 points in the win for Shaw. Devon Dillard had 19.6 rebounds, Alex Owens 15.7 rebounds, and Devon Kelsey 11 points for Shaw. On Sunday, the Bears took on East Stroudsburg. Amir Hinton was at it again. I'm going to call him Baby Harden. He knocked down 27 to 29 free throws on his way to a game-high 44